It's another pull it to pieces day. I'm going to take the generator out, and I'm also going to take the air operated mast out. And I was pondering how to do this. I've just removed a valve, an air valve for draining water and also draining the air out. And in there, it sits in a plate with 4 bolts. And also, inside that plate, there's 4 little screws. And I was looking at it thinking, how on earth am I going to get those screws out? Because I was assuming it was bolted to this plate, but it isn't. There's a couple of Allen screws on either side, and that's all that holds it onto that plate. And then the whole thing lifts off. And then at the top, it's got a collar. It's not very waterproof, and that's probably why I'm getting some water down the actual pipe itself. There's no way the collar is that waterproof, but once the collar's off, this entire thing will pull out or lift out. The cable sits in a recess, so that will clear these holes, which are up there, you can see. But what I have had to do, as I said, is remove the air release valve on this side and also the air inlet valve from the compressor on the other side. And I've already raised this up a couple of inches just to check it moves, but that will now lift out. And then I'm going to overhaul it and may well reuse it. But I do need to make it waterproof because what I can see is water runs down this tube because the collar at the top isn't really designed to seal. And then the compressor, the case is ever so rusty where water's been dripping on it, but internally, I've taken it apart, internally the compressor's fantastic. But there's some patina on that. The paint is literally, it looks like somebody's gone over it with a paint stripper. It's hilarious. And then I'm also starting to take the generator out. And amazingly, the entire exhaust came off without fighting me at all. I thought maybe the bolts into the cylinder head, the 4 bolts that go there, would have been a bit tight. Or maybe these U-clamps would have been tight, but no. So there's the exhaust, dropped out. There's various panels over there that come off the side of the generator. And I did think, well, I was pretty certain I'd have to remove this air mast first because this generator will have to shift slightly to the left to get it out. But having now taken all the panels off, especially the one that was on the back here, which originally would have covered the radiator fan if it had one, I reckon, obviously you can see there is a gap there now. It needs to come up, once it's unbolted, there's 4 bolts that bolt it into the floor. It needs to rise up about, oh, I don't know, it's got to go above there. So I've got to be able to lift it by about 3 inches. And I thought with all the panels and everything in the way, it wouldn't clear this box here. But I reckon, having now looked at it, I'm going to be able to lift that out with an engine crane as it is. I've just removed, you can see where the glue was, I've just removed the battery box and the bracket or shelf that the battery charger sat in to give me some more clearance. And I will be loosening off the frame. The fan and the radiator seems to be mounted on a frame that also supported the air filter and it also supported the compressor for the air mast. But that's just bolted by the looks of it using 4 bolts in the floor or in the bottom of this cubby hole. I can't see any bolts on the top, so that should all come out. I'm hoping that frame will come out in one piece with me just disconnecting the water pipes. So once I've got this mast out of the way, next job will be to disconnect the fuel lines. It's got an in and out fuel line, flow and return. And also I've got to drain down the water system. Then I can unbolt it, disconnect the electrics, and have a go at lifting it out. And I might do that on time lapse. I don't know yet. Depends how challenging it'd be. The problem I've got, I've been laying under there, take the exhaust off. I'm on gravel. I wish I had somewhere where I live that actually had tarmac or a concrete floor. It's going to be quite tricky. I'm going to have to make up some kind of wooden platform to run the engine crane across on its wheels so that I can pull the, I've got some concrete here, but I can't get the vehicle onto this concrete under my carport with enough room to manoeuvre it with the crane. I did think maybe I could reverse the van back over there and use that bit, but it's so rough and uneven. I'd be better off probably just putting sheets of plywood down here. This thing apparently weighs about 300 kilograms. I was actually looking at the plate on it. There's no weight thing there, but I think from reading the manual, I think it's about 300 kilos in total. And from the looks of it, it's only bolted down in 4 places. There doesn't seem to be any bolts actually underneath the generator part itself. It's just the engine mount, which makes it a bit easier to get at because I can get at those bolts. The axis is very good. You can see there's a removable panel in the rear of the van, and I was able to get at everything on that side as well. So it's proven to be a very easy job. And what I will do with the generator, I don't really know. I plan potentially to reuse this mast, providing I can make it properly waterproof. The generator, I might keep, but more likely it's going on eBay. I will get it all connected back up and operational, bolt it onto my trailer or something, and then video it physically working. But it's just too big for use in this vehicle. 20 years ago, I'd have kept it at this house here because we used to get lots of power cuts. Not so many now. But, you know, if I was doing a self-build or something, maybe a generator might be useful one day. But anyway, it's going to come out. If I can get a reasonable price for it on eBay, I will probably sell it. And if they're not worth anything, then it's worth it to me just to keep it as a usable tool. So that's the collar that the unit is secured in at the top. And as I said, it's bolted. I had to drop the cable out of the bottom of the unit in order to get it through the hole. There's some very narrow holes in the shells in the van. It's a big thing. That's probably getting off 2 metres long, and it's a 5-section pole, although only 2 of them work at the moment. But as I say with this collar, you see, if you look there, it just clamps around, but there's no sealant or seals on there. I think an O-ring sort of sits in here, and you can see it's relatively clean compared to that green yuck. So that O-ring's working, but I reckon water's probably been getting down these gaps here, and then it drips inside the vehicle. So if I do refit it, I'll have to put some sealant on those. And also I think water's probably getting underneath there, splashing underneath there, because this is literally just a collar that clamps around a retaining ring. So I'm not entirely sure this thing's designed to go in inside vehicles. But they are. I reckon that probably weighs about 30-35 kilos. It was a bit of a struggle to get it out. But I will overhaul it one day. And for now, I'm just going to make a waterproof fitting that I can reassemble this collar with. I could do with a bit of rubber neoprene or something like that. There you go. So, next part of this video will be getting that generator out. I decided it was getting too dangerous to film me taking this out. I made a couple of tracks up on the gravel using some boards, but no matter where I put the camera on the tripod, it was getting in the way. And as this thing was heavy, I decided you could just see a shot of where it's parked at the moment. There's my engine crane. I was able to lift it out on full extension, which is a 1/2 ton setting, and it's currently on that pin there is the 1 ton setting. This is allegedly a 2 ton crane. 90 quid from Facebook Marketplace. It would have cost me probably 50 odd pounds to hire one. So I thought I'd buy one, and then I shall sell this once I've sold the generator, because it's going to be obviously quite useful to move it about. So there you go, one generator, minus all its covers. Without the covers on, it's a little bit heavy towards the left, and if it had got really awkward, I would have used the low balancer I've got. But it's now on a couple of my jack stands. Huge water pipes to go to the radiator. But I'm now going to put all the covers back on, and that will be it for a while until I decide to clean it up and sell it. The good thing is, now I've got it out, you can it's obviously very messy in here from where it's had oil changes and things, and that's quite wet at the back there where the water's been running down this mast. So now that I've got this out, I can actually do what I intended to do with the van, which is obviously start building it. But more importantly, the entire interior is going to get pressure washed. Because it's plastic, there's very little that's going to get damaged. I'll have to be a bit careful with the electrics. But because of the amount of crap from squirrels, and even, I don't know if it's going to show, yeah, there's bird droppings there, I think it's bird droppings anyway. So there's probably been birdies roosting in here. It's just hilarious. So it's all going to get severely, once I've taken this frame out and taken the radiator out and the remaining electrics up here, the whole thing is going to get massively pressure washed. That's the collet refitted. I've put some sealant in the joins, and I've made a cap basically out of a bit of that black plastic covered aluminium, the stuff they make the lockers out of in the vans. 120mm straight in, and then sealed it in with a new glue that I'm trying, which may or may not be better than PU40, but that's waterproof that properly now. And that'll do for today because it's getting dark. It's been a really nice day. Pond is ever so green and covered in algae, unfortunately. Sam's been out playing, but what a nice day.